of the speech, Olympic wrestling pinned. The sport of wrestling was recently pinned by the International Olympic Committee, otherwise known as the IOC. I am a wrestler and I was curious on the history of sport. I was also curious on how the IOC came to the decision to knock my favorite sport out of the Olympic. I researched all the information I could and I learned wrestling is one of the oldest sports in history. According to PhiloOfficial.com, wrestling was one of the sports in the ancient Olympic Games of 708 BC. And according to NBCOlympics.com, wrestling has been a part of every modern Olympic Games except for the Olympic Games of 1900 in Paris. Wrestling has had many historic events over the Olympics, including the crossing of the gender barrier in 2004 Olympics in Athens, Greece. When women are allowed to wrestle freestyle. According to ESPN.com, wrestling is a sport in many countries. The International Wrestling Federation, otherwise known as PHILO, is made up of 177 nations. Wrestling was voted to no longer be part of the Olympic cord sports. According to CBC Sports, the decision is now final though. Wrestling still has a chance to be voted back into the 2020 Olympic Games. To understand the significance of the IOC's decision to no longer have wrestling in the 2020 Olympic Games, it is important to know the history of wrestling before modern Olympic Games, the decision of the IOC to drop Olympic wrestling in the 2020 Games, and the future of Olympic wrestling. According to PhiloOfficial.com, the history of wrestling goes way back to ancient times. Sumerians were believed to be the first wrestlers as early as 5,000 years ago. There are several artifacts, including the Epic of Gilgamesh, that reveal that there possibly was competitive wrestling. Wrestling was very huge in ancient Greece. Wrestling was a type of training for the young men, and the style they wrestled was similar to today's freestyle wrestling. Wrestling was also part of the ancient Olympics in Athens, Greece. Back then, the only event was the pentathlon in the Olympics, and wrestling was the very last event of the pentathlon. One of the most famous wrestlers of ancient times is Nagel of Croton. He is a very famous wrestler and he won 6 of these Olympic Games. Olympics were outlawed in 393 BC by a Roman emperor by the name of Theodosius I. Wrestling was still practiced by the upper class during the Middle Ages and during the Renaissance period in private rooms, only among the higher class individuals. There was professional wrestling started in mainly in France in 1830. It was throughout Europe, but the biggest country that's used professional wrestling was France. It was very similar style to today's Greco-Roman wrestling. He eventually lost support though because there was many fixed matches in the gambling. I received my information on the history of wrestling in the modern Olympic Games from NBCOlympics.com. Wrestling was part of the very first modern Olympic Games in 1896, but it only had one event, it had no weight classes, and there was no time limit, and the style was very similar to today's Greco-Roman wrestling, and it was very similar to the style of the professional wrestling. There was no wrestling in the 1900 Olympic Games in Paris because it was professional wrestling in France, and the Olympics was thought of more of as an amateur event. It also at this time lost support in the professional wrestling world because of all the fixed matches, so it didn't have the support to get into the Olympic Games. But in 1904 in St. Louis for the Olympics, wrestling was back in the Olympics. Only Americans competed in it though, and it was freestyle wrestling. So that meant Americans took every single medal. Wrestling in 1908 Olympics contained both Greco-Roman and freestyle wrestling. In 1912, a record was set due to the fact there was no time limit on the matches. There was a match that went on in the semifinals for 11 hours and 40 minutes. This caused that time restraints were then added to the sport of wrestling. In 1932, Ivar Johansson became the first ever wrestler to win a gold medal in both freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestling. The day after he got a gold medal in Greco-Roman wrestling, he fasted and sat in sauna to sweat off 10 pounds in 24 hours so he could compete in the freestyle wrestling division and also win gold medal there. In 1972, Dan Gable of the United States achieved perfection. He won a gold medal in freestyle, and he is also the only wrestler in history to not surrender a single point for the entire tournament. In recent Olympic Games, Alexander Garland of Russia is known as one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. He was a 3-time Olympic champion and 13 years consecutively undefeated. In 2000, he tried to become the first wrestler of modern times to become a 4-time Olympic gold medalist. In 2000, in the World Championship against Rulon Gardner of the United States, Rulon Gardner pulled off one of the biggest upsets of all time, known as the Miracle on the Mat, beating Alexander Garland 1-0. In 2004 Olympics in Athens, Greece, wrestling crossed the gender barrier. Women were allowed to wrestle in the Olympics for the first time. They had a freestyle division just for them. There was 4 weight classes, and Japan dominated, taking 2 gold medals, a silver, and a bronze medal. The IOC voted to drop Olympic wrestling, according to ESPN.com and the New York Times. My information on the voting process comes from CBC Sport. There's 25 core sports for the Olympics that were voted on, and there was a secret ballot. Of the 15 members on the IOC, only 14 voted. The president of the IOC did not vote. After several rounds, they narrowed it down to eliminating wrestling from the core sports for 2020 Olympics. The IOC used 39 different criteria, including audience spectators at the Olympic Games and the amount of worldwide TV viewers. Wrestling was low in both these categories. What is the future of Olympic wrestling? According to CBC Sport, it still has a chance to make it into the 2020 Olympic Games. There is a vote to be held in May between several different sports that have to take the spot the Olympic wrestling held. According to ESPN.com, wrestlers around the world are protesting. Rival countries such as the United States and Iran have worked together to protest the IOC's decision, according to RT Sport. The World Cup tournament that was recently held had a moment of silence, and all the wrestlers laid on their back as a sign of protest, according to ESPN.com. And there are also many petitions on the internet and hoping to reverse the IOC's decision, according to WOWT.com. Wrestling has a long history. It has been a huge part of sports history. It's been a part of every modern Olympic Games except for one. Recently, the IOC made the decision to drop it from the Olympic Games of 2020. Wrestling has been dropped because of lack of public attention. The decision is not final, though. The final decision will come in May when the IOC picks a sport to fill in the missing spot for the core sports. Wrestlers around the world are coming together to form a worldwide protest. Petitions are also being signed in an attempt to save the sport. The sport of wrestling may no longer be a part of the Olympic Games for good.